Cheers. Happy
Cheers.
Wine Wednesday. Here we go. Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, Mira Boucher. Thank you for holding the fort. 2 weeks.
You were on a cruise. Yeah, this was us last Wednesday. Look at this. Carl was like on that yellow water slide at the top there last Wednesday. And now he's disappeared. So it's the Mira show again. So today, thanks for stopping by, Canadian wine lovers. We are going to chat big, bold red wines, the South Okanagan, and something really big I got in my glass here, which is Petit Verdot. And we actually have someone really awesome in the green room right now, ready to chat with us while Carl's getting his devices reconnected here. And that is Adam from.
Yes, I wanted to go back where. Okay.
You're back.
Good. Now I'm back. I think I wanted to go back on the ship.
Adam from Desert Hills Estate Winery. He is here already. So let's bring on Adam.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Adam, how's it?
On your vacation, I think.
Yeah. So what have you guys been up to?
Oh, a little bit of a trip. I was down in New Orleans and in the Caribbean in the last couple of weeks. Mira was holding on the fort in the Okanagan. And I just got back late on Sunday night, and now we're back at it. Nice. So talking to Chris at the winery, they told me that you were in Ontario right now.
No, I'm back home now. I got back about a week and a half ago. But
there you go. There you go.
In Toronto for Christmas, and I got caught up in that whole Vancouver airport mess of a storm trying to get there. So, but that's a whole nother story. But no, I'm back now, and like you said, it's back to business.
There you go. So Mira, so first and foremost, we want to say thank you and to you for holding on the fort in the last 2 weeks. I think you did a great job keeping our members informed about what's going on in the wine world, in Carl's Wine Club world. And I thought it was a pretty cool show with the Wine Spectator Top 10. This one was really, really good. I really enjoyed that. So before we go, so before we start, okay, because I want to talk Desert Hills, I want to talk South Okanagan wines, I want to talk about the Black Sage Bench. But Adam, bear with me for a second. We're going to say a few words in French. We're going to welcome everyone across the country, and I'll be right back with you, okay? So un beau bonjour en français à tout notre monde, partout au pays, les amateurs de vin canadiens du Québec, du nord de l'Ontario, de toutes les provinces francophones, de toutes les provinces et les régions francophones. On vous souhaite la bienvenue. Un autre Wednesday Wine Happy Hour. Et puis ce soir, on parle de Desert Hills Winery, un des petits bijoux de notre industrie de vin canadien. Là, les autres, ils sont dans le sud de l'Okanagan, sur le Black Sage Bench à Oliver, la capitale nationale du vin. Un vignoble que j'ai beaucoup d'affinités avec, un vignoble que j'adore depuis maintenant plusieurs années. Donc, à ce soir, on reçoit Adam. Adam est assistant winemaker à Desert Hills. Donc, on va questionner Adam sur la sélection de vin de cette semaine. Donc, quelque chose de bien intéressant. Merci d'avoir patienté. J'ai été absent les 2 dernières semaines. Mira a pris la relève. Donc, un beau bonjour à toute notre gang en français. Mira, what do you have to say? So are you going to take the week off this week because I'm back, or you're staying with us?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the spa week. You opened this beautiful Petit Verdot, so I think that one is all mine for tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We actually made a gorgeous stew. So last Christmas, not this one, but the one before, Carl got me the best Christmas present ever, which is a Le Creuset, massive Le Creuset Dutch oven. And we just made a beautiful beef stew in there. There's something about that Le Creuset because when you make a beef stew, like slow cooked in there, oh my gosh, I could not recreate that with normal pots and pans. So
Definitely not. And we thought that with that little gem of the 2016 Petit Verdot, it will probably be the perfect blend. So, hey guys, okay, now we have I see here the channel, all of our social media channels are fitting up with a bunch of people from all over the country. Steven is on. Steven Polish, our friend Steven at Desert Hill at Tenor, maybe right behind the door behind you.
He's not far away.
I knew the connection here, Adam.
I figured he'd be logging in at some point.
oh, there's Steven.
We have Daryl from Ontario. Hi, Daryl. Lorna just tuning in. So to everyone across the country, welcome to our Wednesday Wine Happy Hour. Adam, so tell me a little bit more, okay? So in order for our members to know who you are, we know each other for now at least 3 years. But tell us a little bit. What's your role at Desert Hills? How many hats do you wear?
Well, yeah, for those who don't know, Desert Hills, located in Oliver on the Black Sage Bench, like you said, Carl. Our estate vineyard is around, I believe, 16 or 17 acres planted under vine, including some very old for the region at least, Syrah vines. And my role at Desert Hills has been tasting manager mostly, but I am fortunate enough to be able to work with the winemaking team as well for the past 5 vintages now. So I've got to really learn the vines and the winery itself and the people, and every year I learned something new. It's great. I love that we're a small family-run winery. I think that's really important. It's always stayed that way, given how commercialized you can kind of say that the Okanagan is slowly becoming. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to another year.
Yeah, so Mira's been doing some research about the growth of Desert Hills, how they started, how like all of their vineyard holding. Mira, where did your research lead you?
Well, from what I understand, you guys have some of the oldest vineyards, right? Especially for Syrah in the South Okanagan.
Yeah, definitely. We have our Syrah that's on the property was planted in 1992.
Wow.
So they're quite well rooted now at this point. We also have some Cabernet Sauvignon that was planted in 1994, as well as some Gamay planted in 94, which I don't know if this is accurate, but I've been told that they could be the oldest Gamay vines in the South Okanagan. So Don't quote me on that. I'd have to do some digging to actually find out the truth on that, but that's what my winemaker told me. Our winemaker told me, so I'm sticking to it. And we have a few properties that we farm. It's not just the estate property. And the one that I will mention is the one that you guys have in your glass right now, the Petit Verdot. That's from our Eagle's Nest Vineyard, which is also located on the Black Sage Bench. It's about 5-7 minutes north on the winery, closer to Le Vieux-Pin, French Door, those wineries over there.
Okay.
It's a great site. It is sandy soil, mostly sandy soil. I don't know when these vines were planted exactly, but I know we have about 1.5 acres of Petit Verdot. So we don't get a lot. And because of where the vineyard's situated, kind of backs onto the Inkami Reserve. So we get a lot of wildlife. We get a lot of bears that come during harvest. And because of where the Petit Verdot is, closest to their fence, we do lose a lot of fruit every year. So it's a pretty small production for us, usually around 90 cases, typically under 100. But it's a fun grape to work with. It can be very finicky for sure. It's very late ripening. You don't get substantial yields out of it. They're very small berries. They can be very astringent too if it doesn't ripen properly, and it's not a big fan of our winters out here, so it can be tricky, but it's gained a lot of popularity in the Okanagan recently. Petit Verdot, a lot more wineries are doing it now.
Single varietal Petit Verdot, isn't it?
What's that?
Especially the single varietal, like not just thrown into a blend.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I think a lot of wineries are in the same boat as us, where they don't necessarily have a lot planted because it's a bit of a high risk grape. So you will see a lot of co-ferments, or it seen in more in blends that you do the single varietal.
Just saying everyone, if you see me from like this right now, Okay, I just had couple sip back to back to taste it. This is a big and bold. This is, you talk about astringents, you talk about tannin. Yeah, this one is a 2016 that we're tasting tonight, the one in the pack. And funny enough, because like this is just starting. This is just the baby on this curve. I love it. There's a lot. There's a lot. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later. But let's keep talking about the vines, the vines, because I'm fascinating, really old. So the Desert Hills were at the forefront at the beginning, from orchard to vine. But not only that, from hybrid to vitis vinifera as well, right? So that late 80s, early 90s, that's where we saw the transition in the south of the Okanagan, or the beginning of the transition. And Desert Hill was right there at the very beginning with some of the oldest winery down there, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I'm glad you mentioned the orchard part, because the estate property, Desert Hills, it was, of course, an apple orchard before. And that's what the tree on our logo represents is, yes, the trees that kind of used to be there. This is going back to, the late 80s. Where vitis vinifera wasn't as common yet, like you said. There was a lot more hybrid grapes, or there was more of a focus on, German varieties and, cooler climate varieties. And it wasn't until, in the mid 90s where we started to discover that you could do the big bold reds here, especially on the Black Sage bench, mostly due to the sun exposure and the soils and, the hot desert-like climate that we typically get down here. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun for sure, and I'm looking forward to see where the vines go. How much we can really get out of these. We don't want to push it too hard. They're getting old, and just like us, they get more fragile and more high maintenance as they get older. So, but they're doing pretty good.
Don't put any words in my wife's mouth, please, Adam. I don't need to hear it more. But, but and that's a very good point. I wanted to go right there at what you're talking about here. So let's explain to our members across the country here about old vines versus young vines, right? Depending on which varietals, because some varietals grow older and produce more. But in general, like let's talk about Syrah, Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, Merlot. Average age of vines, let's say
the big ones, the big bold ones.
The big bold ones, right?
Yeah.
Let's say like they hit their stride around between 10 and 25 years old. Am I correct about these numbers, or I will let you speak? Give us a little sense of
yeah, well, I'll do my best on that one, because my background is definitely not in the viticulture side of it. But I have learned a lot from our viticulturist and our winemaker. But typically, as a vine gets older, it produces less fruit, right? There's more strain on it. But the fruit that it does produce is going to be much more concentrated. And the older a vine gets, the roots have to go down nice and deep, which is good for when you have sandy soils like we do. It's easy for the roots to kind of, go deeper, and you get more of that mineral, more of the terroir that you expect from a good, high quality big red.
I think, and you're right. And like when like, let's say like the 8 to 10 to 12 years old vines, where like they're teenagers, right? They're young adult, but they're producing like crazy. But older they get, less fruit, less of the crop they produce, but much more complexity comes out of their production. So now, if we look at it, 1992 at the beginning, now 2023, these guys are pretty matured, and these guys are giving you some pretty cool flavor profile that you don't get. Like, doesn't matter how you farm your vineyard, doesn't matter what your winemaker will do to them, doesn't matter which kind of oak treatment you give them, you can't get what the age of the vines and the depth of the roots will bring to the fruits, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. It brings such a new level of depth of flavor to your wines. Definitely winemakers. And 30 years old for 30 years old for our Syrah vines. It might sound old, for the Okanagan, but vines typically peak 60, 70 years old. I mean, we don't really have that culture here yet. We're such a young wine growing region, but you go to France or some of the old world regions, and 60, 70 year old vines is almost the average, you know, and some of course are well over 100. So if you take good care of your vines, if you have a good kind of ecosystem going on, it's not just about how you farm it in the summer during the growing season. It's about your pruning and your winter practices as well, that make a big difference. So hopefully we'll get the vines up to 60, 70, over 100 one day.
Yeah. Let's talk about flavor profile of let's say the philosophy of winemaking as well, because when I taste the whole lineup, and I've been tasting a fair amount of your wines throughout the years, all the way back to 2013 Mirage, and all of the growth of your portfolio. One thing that I noticed, so Desert Hill are not your typical fruit bomb, warm, heated, high alcohol that you can find a lot of the new wineries now in the South Okanagan abuse sometimes the warm climate that I call it. What I found in the flavor profile, the tendencies of what you guys do, it's more savoriness. Yes. Spice, savoriness, and minerality. Now you tell me if I'm completely in the right field, if I don't know at all what I'm talking about, but that's my analysis over the years tasting your wines.
No, that's pretty much spot on. I'm glad you mentioned the alcohol thing, because being in such a hot site that we are, it's very common that you see wines exceeding 14.5%, sometimes over 15%. And we do try to kind of scale it back a little bit. It's very vintage dependent, of course, but we do want the fruit to kind of shine while not making fruit bombs as well. We want that complexity. We want that spice. We want that varietal typicity, right? We want it to scream Petit Verdot or scream Gamay. The one that we have right now is from 2016. So this was a very hot year. It was a fantastic vintage. So this one is a little bit warmer. It will change depending. And we do try to pick based on phenolic ripeness. So it's not like we're picking super early where the grapes aren't ripened enough to get that lower alcohol. We're just changing our practices. And one thing we like to do is for Petit Verdot, we only have at one vineyard, but Merlot, for example, we have it at 3 different vineyards. So we treat all 3 of them completely different. We'll pick them differently. We'll probably ferment them in a different vessel. We'll use different yeast strains. We'll use a different barrel program, and it just gives us a lot more to work with when we do our blending trials, our final blending trials. So,
Mira, I know you're dying to jump in the conversation right now. What are you thinking?
So, I was just fascinated by what you said, Carl, that you're finding the Desert Hills profile is more about savoriness and not necessarily fruit bombs. And I hear you say this often. I don't know, like when I was starting to drink wines during the pandemic, you were like, oh, this wine is a fruit bomb. This wine is, I got the whole idea about the old world. Okay. Whenever I get a wine that is like a little dustier, a little bit more rustic, Carl will be like, oh, it's more old world. Okay. I get that. What is this about the fruit bomb? Like, what do you mean by this? And like you said, some wineries abuse the hot weather. Hot weather is what you need for bold, rich red wines usually, right?
Well, I'm sure that Adam would love to go give us a textbook 101, not to crank the alcohol off, and just like that's what I call like the California profile, where it's just about like overripe fruit, over extraction. So Adam, I'll let the expert talk here, but
well, that's definitely a new world style. Whether it's California, Washington, and us, anywhere along the Pacific Northwest, they're definitely a very new world style. They're big, they're bold, they can be very jammy, which is sometimes is a word that, winemakers, sommeliers don't like to throw around. Some view it as a negative connotation, but when it's that hot, that ripe, like Napa Valley, you get lots of tannins for sure from the big, bold Cabernet Sauvignons, but they're very ripe. So they're very soft. And a lot of the wines now I find are being made in a ready to drink kind of right away as soon as it leaves the winery. Whereas the old world ones, the Bordeaux's, the Chiantis, they always benefit from a couple of years. And a part of that is how impatient we are in North America. I don't know the exact number, but something like 65% of all wines that are purchased in North America are consumed within 2 hours. of purchase.
Yeah, it just depends how far the liquor store is from your house.
Exactly. So the wine industry is kind of seeing that, and okay, this is the kind of style that that people want. Whereas I find, European or other countries that prefer the older world wines, they want to purchase it, set it aside for a couple years, and then enjoy. So maybe they're more patient than us, and that's kind of dictating the market out here, the style.
I would say maybe, and I won't say patient. I would say more sophisticated than we
That's
are.
right. Yeah,
And
that's
I
a good
think
one.
that's very well explained in the sense that they're going to rotate their purchase, right? Like buying, you let them sit for 3 years, and after that, you start rotating the new vintage, or depending on the vintage, which one is more ready to drink. But
Exactly.
yeah, so Mira, it was a great question, but yeah. So to me, if you look at my tasting notes for especially this for this release here, the 2021s and the 2020, savoriness, I find I get it. I get a lot of herbaceousness, like dry sage, dry thyme, and also floral. Like that Petit Verdot has a violet profile as much as I got that also in the Malbec. The Malbec to me was really, really floral as well. So
Yeah, our Malbec's pretty interesting, actually. We always get sometimes violets. I get a lot of lilacs typically,
yeah,
and we get a lot of dill from our Malbec. A really cool, and some of that's coming from the French barrels that we're using. But every year from our estate vineyard, our Malbec, I get this really nice kind of herbaceous characteristic. I always look forward to it.
yeah, that's exactly how I started my tasting notes. Like that was not the typical Malbec that you get at the liquor store. It's more on the floral, more on the herbaceousness, or that makes it for a completely different perspective. That's what you expect. Really, really interesting.
It's
So
more of a Southwest France kind of style of Malbec.
absolutely, the more of the Cahal style, right? Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. In terms of production, Adam, let's say on an average crop now, we know that 2020, 19, 20, 21, there were much smaller crop than usual. Now, 2022 arrive and boom,
Holy
there you
smokes.
go.
Yeah.
So how's that look for you right now in the production facility? Are you overwhelmed by all of the barrels and all of the
Yeah, we are overwhelmed for sure. We processed around 230 tons of fruit this year. So that's the most that we've processed since I started working there in 2018. And 2018 might be close. That was a great crop, but no, I think it's great. Like you said, 2020, 2019, a little bit of a lower crop. And 2021, we had so much smoke taint that I think a lot of wine ended up, down the drain, so to speak, or, utilized in some other way. So it was kind of nice, to get our numbers back up there. And when you get these large crops, you can be concerned that the flavor is going to be diluted, but the fruit was fantastic. We had a very late ripening in 2022. We had a slow start to the season. We had a lot of rain. It was cold temperatures. We had late bud break. And then as we were getting into pretty much late August, when we should have gone through veraison, when the skins change colors, we're still looking at green grapes out there. So it was kind of concerning for a while, but we had the perfect kind of end of September, a perfect into October as well. It was unnaturally warm. So that was kind of our saving grace. Turned out to be a really, really good vintage. We're really happy with it.
My two youngest are playing hockey, and one of the kids who plays hockey, the dad works at the Summerland Research Center here in Summerland, and they do all of this study for all of the vineyards in the Okanagan. And he said, on record, there's not one fall since they started in the 70s that there's not one fall. This is the best fall ever on record on every single numbers that you want to look at it. Like this is like by far the best fall. And like you mentioned, right? I remember in June talking to people and like wine grape grower were pulling their hair out. They're like, oh my God, we're never going to get our fruit to ripeness. And at the end of the day, we're ending up with one of the most spectacular vintage that we can remember. So that's pretty exciting. So for you guys, when you probably going to start it to like, the wine are in barrel right now, and you guys are looking forward to next year for the reds. But what can be the rock star varietals at Desert Hills for 2022?
For 2022, ones to look out for. Well, I'm really enjoying the Chardonnay. I really loved. I think you have a bottle of our 2021, which
Yeah.
people just absolutely raved about this year. It was insane. I loved pouring that in the shop this year, especially when they tell me that they don't like Chardonnay, which we do get that a lot. ABC.
Yeah.
See the look on their faces when we poured that wine. So a little bit of a different flavor profile this year than last year, but we did try to kind of replicate a similar style, doing mostly stainless steel and a small portion that's barrel fermented. So just kind of mixing up a little bit, and really looking forward to that. As far as the reds go, they are all in barrel right now, so it's a little bit early to tell. But I'm always a sucker for the Cab Franc.
Okay.
Cab Franc, which is actually from the same vineyard as the Petit Verdot that we're all drinking here right now. Always does a great job. I typically think a Cab Franc is a little bit more of a cooler climate grape. Like, I'm an Ontario boy, right? So you see a lot of it in Niagara and Desert County, and I love the kind of the green, the capsicum that you get in those. But no, this is a fantastic area to grow Cab Franc as well, and there's a few wineries such as Tinhorn that are showing that Cab Franc is a good fit for the Okanagan. So yeah, those are two wines that I'm really looking forward to once we get those bottled. Once they age in barrel for another year, pretty much. So.
Yeah, I remember when we got to the early last year, early season, when you hadn't released your Chardonnay yet.
Yeah.
And we tasted it together, and you saw that. I was like, "Whoa, my God!" That was like, "Ling, ling, ling, ling." And you told me
I went to grab one for you because I knew, Carl's here now. He's got to try this. I was just so excited about it.
I was about to buy your whole freaking Magnums inventory, and you say, "Hold on, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it."
Yeah, next time. When we do
I know. But. Yeah, okay. So now, like, I opened that Petit Verdot. What time was it, Mira? 3:30?
Yeah.
So now we're at 5:30 now, 2 hours in. It's starting to come out right now. It's really starting to come together. Because I promise our members that I'm gonna rate it and do the tasting notes from the show today. So I know that. Go ahead.
This whole show, we're talking like big, bold wines. We talked a bit about the weather, the roots going deep in the sandy loam soil and all this in the South Okanagan. But the other thing about big, bold reds is they age well, sometimes, right? Depending on how they're made. They can age well, but also you got to let them breathe, don't you?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And it sounds like Carl's opened his, a little bit in advance. And I actually did the same. I opened this particular bottle yesterday. So I opened it in the evening. I didn't decant it or anything. I poured out a small glass, made sure there was no faults or anything. And then I just put the cork back on and let it sit on my table. And the difference today from yesterday, it's amazing. I can't wait till your wine gets to the point where mine is right now. But so much more chocolatey, more kind of like coffee espresso notes. You get more spice. You get more of the kind of graphite, the pencil lead shavings that Petit Verdot is known for. It's really opened up on day two, and the tannins are more soft, right? And that's the thing with Petit Verdot, is it's known for those really harsh, astringent, drying tannins. So a long decant for sure if you open this, even though it's got a little bit of age on it. I would probably age this wine another 8 years easily. It could probably go longer than that, but I think that's a good window just based on the tannin structure, the acidity that we have here. So yeah, a lot of big, bold reds in the Okanagan definitely could age for a decent amount of time. And that's why it's one thing that people love about it, is you get these amazing secondary and tertiary aromas that you can't create as a winemaker. You can't put in the wine. It's all about time and patience. And that's one of the beautiful things about big, bold reds.
So for me, so this is 2 hours in right now. So, and I'm more on the primary aromas right now. I'm more on the dark fruit. Like, I'm on the black cherry, like, that macerated Bing cherry, blackberry. Yeah. There's some cassis in there as well, but there's some sweet tobacco leaves. Yes. Like something like there's that tobacco chewy, but the nice little sweetness in there. It makes it makes it friendly. It makes it really that gentle giant that I like to call it, right? It doesn't punch me in the face. It's just like it's friendly. I know it's big, it's heavy, but it's just like, but there's a freshness in the middle of it though. It's not heavy, flabby. That freshness, and I feel like that, like that's a little savoriness as well. But the dominance to me, that's really that tobacco, that's that chewy tobacco.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Come work at Desert Hills. I'll get you to do all of our tasting notes for us.
Oh man, right now I don't know. It's just like I would love to, but geez, that I'm busy.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you got your hands full.
Well, you know what?
Be happy with that.
I gotta show you. Okay, so look at what Carl was doing this last week. This is why he's busy, poor guy.
Oh my God.
That was where, Carl?
This one was Roatan. That was in Honduras.
Very nice. Wow.
Yeah, exactly here. But
same with this one, and then
remind me again why I went back
there?
to Toronto for Christmas.
Oh, but Adam, though, I was taking care of a 800 people group. Okay.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah,
So you were working hard then.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's like taking care of a big group of kindergartner.
No.
That's exactly how I felt at some point. All of these people drinking, I'll tell you, I had them for 3 days in New Orleans, like in that French Quarter in New Orleans, Bourbon Street and all that. Yeah. So I had people arrested and like.
No. Carl was he was known as White Ass because there was a convention of Harley Davidson.
The Black Riders of Harley Davidson of America at the same hotel that our 800 people, there were 1,200 Black American Harley Davidson riders.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
They were calling me White Ass. You should have seen that. That was pretty darn funny.
Well,
so,
that'll be my nickname for you from now on. Next time you come visit the winery.
Yeah, hey, White Ass, come on here. Exactly.
Our kids are really funny because they don't think that Carl is white. And so they're like, "What are you talking about? You're not white."
Well, he's got the nice tan going on right now. God, I gotta get back to the kitchen.
Our youngest actually told some friends at school that his dad is black. And
I'll tell you one thing: I didn't look too black among these riders last couple weeks.
No, probably not.
Yeah. So Adam, tell me a little bit more about the winemaking team. You're your winemaker right now, because we know that Anthony Buchanan was your consultant winemaker for a long time. Now Anthony's on his own. He has his own project going on in Caledon. Caledon, by the way, is completely exploding right now. And it's such a great spot down there. So is Raj still at the helm of the winemaking team up there? So what's going on in the winemaking facility?
Yeah, so this was actually Rajan's last vintage with us. He's moving on. As you know, he does his own project. He has Ursa Major, which has there he is. Which has absolutely exploded over the years. Demand is crazy. He's doing a fantastic job. So he's acquired a vineyard out in the Caramillos Costin area. I haven't checked it out yet, but I won't tell what's planted there or anything. I don't want to ruin any surprises on his behalf. But he also has a vineyard on the Naramata Bench. So he's going to be busy kind of doing his own things. He's going to be making his wines off-site. So we have a new winemaker who joined us for this past harvest. Her name is Steph. She's got a great resume. She's worked in the Okanagan for a few years. She's done a vintage in Australia. I'm not sure exactly where, but she's been around and worked with different grape varieties, different styles of wine. So we're happy to have her on board. It was such a blast working with her this past harvest, and I'm gonna miss Rajan, but I'm looking forward to what he's gonna bring with his winery. And other than that, it's Steph, it's myself, and Peter, who joined us last year as well. He's a Toronto boy like me. He's a sommelier as well. Worked in restaurants a while. He worked in a couple wineries out here. So we're happy to have him on the team as well. So I'm already looking forward to this harvest. I know we just kind of finished one up. Technically, we haven't even finished it up. We still have some wines going through some mallow, and we're in the process of getting some sulfur in the wines and get them kind of ready for bottling in March. But I'm already looking forward to the next harvest. I'm ready to go. It's hard once you get into it. It's long days. You're at the mercy of Mother Nature. But when you're not doing it, you tend to miss it pretty quick.
I love it. I love it. You're a true, I think you really, I love what you do in the tasting room, but I know you're truly a guys of the guy on the other side, like making the wines and like the detail of making the wines.
Well, I really like doing both. Obviously that's kind of my background is, working the tasting room, explaining wines, kind of educating about wine. That kind of thing. And I do love it. And that's why I love Desert Hills, because we are such a small family run winery. A lot of people have a multifaceted role, and it's a perfect situation for me where I can kind of bounce back and forth wherever I'm needed. You learn so much more, and to be able to bring the knowledge that I get from working the harvest into the tasting room, when people have some difficult questions or, stuff that not everybody's going to know about, I could look. Oh, I remember that day. Yeah, I remember when we picked those grapes, and getting into detail, and especially when people are engaged and, they want to learn, it definitely makes my job a lot easier.
That's full circle. That's definitely the full circle. Hey, we have Margaret here who's, she said she has a 2012 Petit Verdot on her shelf at home. So now I would say we're getting into a little bit more of the prime window of drinkability, right?
Yeah. We don't have any more of those at the winery. So I haven't tried it in, I think last year or the year before, we had one of the last bottles of the 2012. Different winemaker. We're going way back. This is when a gentleman named George was making our wines. And I'm sure that's ready to drink. I can't say for sure until I, have a sip, but let's just say you're definitely in a drinking window. You're probably maybe not in any rush. It's not going to go bad on you anytime soon, but you're ready to enjoy that 2012 whenever you find the proper meal for that one, Margaret.
Yeah, and I call Petit Verdot, I compare Petit Verdot like a tank.
Yeah,
it's indestructible. Like this thing can freaking wave. We can freaking go through times like a tank.
Yeah, and I know typical big reds, because that's what we're talking about. Typically, you pair them with, a steak dinner. Or certainly, when you talk Cabernet Sauvignon, that's the ideal pairing. Well, when I think Cabernet Sauvignon, I think a strip loin or a top sirloin. When I think Petit Verdot, I want ribeye. I want prime rib. I want something really fatty because it has the tannins to hold up to it, to cut through all that fat. So this is your true steak wine right here, in case anyone asks, is the Petit Verdot.
Absolutely. Speaking about Cabernet, I had a soft spot for the 17 Cab Sauv.
Okay.
This, I think it was my favorite wine of the whole thing. I really love the 2013 Syrah because, when you're getting like a 9-10-year-old Syrah, that's where it really shines, right? But this one, the 17 Cab Sauv, I think now he's just scratching the opening of his window of drinkability. And I really love, we're talking about earlier, we talked about graphite, we're talking about minerality, savoriness, and all of that, these aspects, that Cab Sauv have it all.
Yeah, spice in that one, if I remember correctly, it's got some spice, but then it still has that cassis and black currant, the kind of fruit notes that you expect from a Cab Sauv. It's a bit of a challenging vintage, as far as I know. I started at the winery at 2018, so I didn't have the joy of working with that wine, but I was there when we put it into bottle, and even right out of barrel, it just smelled amazing. So I knew it was going to have a long life ahead of it for sure. But I also sent you, I'm not sure if you saw it, a 2020 Cabernet Sauvignon, which I know you did.
I know you did. I was like,
This is kind of like one of those Chardonnay situations where I just felt like you had to try it. It's my favorite wine, one of my favorite wines. I can't say definitively, but definitely one of my favorites from the 2020 vintage. So at some point, you'll have to find some time to try that one.
Absolutely.
Is that one for sale yet, or is that just a sneak
That
preview?
one is for sale. Yeah, we do have that on the
Oh.
shop, on the shelves, and on our online store. So anybody can order it right now. But it is young, and that's why the 2017 that you have in your hands there, that wine is ready to drink. Like you said, I would still decant it for sure, and I definitely would have it with food. It definitely has the grip and the tannin structure that you want from a big cab, but definitely more ready to drink than the 2020 is.
Nice.
Okay. Before I let you go, I need to give you a score
On the Petit Verdot.
on the Petit Verdot.
98. I'll make it easy for you. 98.
You
He's
know
only
what?
ever done that once. Only ever done that once. So
Wow.
Yeah. Only one. That was the Pearl Morissette Cuvée Disney 2017 vintage. That was my highest score wine ever since I started. And so far, last year I had 296 points. That's it. That was one of the Thomas Batchelder.
Oh yes, I think I saw that, the Chardonnay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know that you're an Ontario boy. We're gonna have a Thomas an offer with Thomas coming up at the end of February. So
I'll keep an eye out for that for sure.
Yeah. And I'm like
we'll have to bring you some of the bottles, because we open them, we take a few sips out, and then it's like we gotta.
You know what, Adam? I think I should bring the wine, and we should taste them together at the winery.
Oh yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. You know where to find me. Let me know anytime.
So you know what? This is definitely a 90 points. There's no doubt about that. I like the floral component of it. Mm-hmm. I like the spice. There's it's more of cardamom, cinnamon. It's not full on. It's not spicy peppery, but it's more of a Christmas, like Asian spice box or something. I really love the tobacco, that tobacco component, even like pipe tobacco as well. The leg is just getting like beautiful, just dripping down. I like the concentration. The 14.6 does not. It's not heavy. It's not hot. A hot wine. I like the freshness. I'm at definitely a 90 plus, just on the verge of 91 points.
I love it. Yeah.
And it sounds like we have to revisit that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Definitely Adam's method tomorrow, and we'll rescore it then. Let me know.
Yeah, because you're telling me that. Do you have the Petit Verdot open too, Adam?
I do. Yeah, that's what's in my glass here.
And you opened it last night. You left the cork in.
Yeah,
overnight.
I pulled out a glass, so it was just below the neck here. And then I, enjoyed a glass and, see where it was. And I tried to remember that in my head for the next day. I always like to do that. I always like to revisit a wine the next day, unless we're having a party and we get carried away. Sometimes the bottles don't make it the next day. But that's
funny because I've seen Carl do that so many times. Like, we talk about decanters and expensive tools and all this stuff, but that's exactly what Carl does almost every time. Is he'll try and then he'll put the cork on. And some wines are way better the second day, and then some wines don't make it.
Some wines don't make it. Yeah.
Well, it's also, the key is also, you mentioned it, if you go down too much, there's more air in the bottle. So, like, to me, the key now, we were the both of us to have a big glass for the show, right? So I'm already halfway to the bottle, so I might just pump it tonight. Because if you're just at the shoulder, there's not a lot of air in the bottle, so way less chance of oxidation. Yeah. So that it plays as well, right? But because, again, you're an Ontario boy, to me, the classic wine was better the second day. It's Big Head. The wine at Big Head, like, you give it a try the night before. Don't make any judgment yet. Let's try it again tomorrow. And now they're like, here you go.
That's another winery I really love from back home. I haven't been there in probably about 4 years, but it was a great experience, and they're doing some cool grape varieties too. Ones that I wouldn't think to do necessarily in Niagara. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they do a Chenin Blanc.
Yeah.
And they do a Sauvignon as well.
The Sauvignon was one of my, okay, so listen to that. Last year in September, not 2020, 2021, I was in Niagara touring, and my first appointment of the day was with Jacob at 9 a.m. And I was with Marcel Morgenstern, who's he runs Bellaterra. And anyway, so he booked the rest of the day, fairly tightly booked. When we got to Big Head at 9 a.m., Jacob had something like 32 wines open.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, exactly.
Good breakfast.
Yeah, I hope you had a big breakfast that morning.
But the problem is, I'm just like the way, like we're going through the whole thing, right? And he's so passionate about what he does, and we go in detail. And I'm just thinking of the schedule of the day. I'm like, okay, this day is gonna turn out into a shit show. Yeah. I have like to postpone all of my appointment, and anyway. But the Sévigné was one of the best wine I've tasted all day with him. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I would love to re-explore that wine again.
Yeah.
To visit.
Listen, Adam, that was a big and bold show talking South Okanagan. I greatly appreciate your time, my man. It was really, really good to reconnect. Absolutely. And thanks a million. It's great to, we're happy to feature Desert Hill Winery this week. And if anyone has question or anything, they can send me the question. I will forward them all to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a pleasure, guys. And if anybody's local, if anybody's in the Okanagan wants to do a tasting, give the shop a call, and you could try all the wines that are featured here for your wine club. And, the 2020 Cabernet Sauvignon that I mentioned and some other gems. Give the winery a call, swing by, drop by, send us an email, and we're happy to help. Are
you guys open in the off season or by appointment?
Typically by appointment. We usually have somebody there. Technically the shop's closed. It's quite slow, this time of the year is kind of quiet. So but if anybody wants to do a tasting, we have the wine, we have the personnel. Amazing. I'm always happy to open the door for anybody who wants to talk wine or try some of the new ones.
So there's a special trick for the members. If you're ever in wine country in Canada, anywhere really, in the off season, there's a trick for you, is to call them up, even if they're closed, because sometimes
and mention Carl's Wine Club, we'll give you a complimentary tasting.
Adam, you freaking rock, my man. Thanks for your time. Say hi to Steven behind, and he's on my list to call tomorrow.
There you go. No, you don't want those ones. Yes, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
I keep bugging him for large format, and he keeps postponing them. So
I'll go give him an last flipping.
Thanks, my friend. You have a good evening.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, Adam, it was so great to see you. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Oh, that's so awesome. Hey,
I like the guy. I like him. He's an absolute gem. And if you're ever in the area in the south of the Okanagan, doing a tasting with Adam is just so freaking interesting, because again, we just talked about it. He has the vineyard and the winemaker, the winemaking skills. So he knows the full circle of the whole operation. So he makes a tasting so cool.
Yeah, you get a ton of really great little insights that no one else would be able to tell you. It's really neat.
What are you the most excited about that feature, Mira?
Well, a few things. I think I like bold red wines. I really do. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Is it because I like steak? Is it because I like stews? It goes what I don't know, but I love the big red wines. Even in the summer, Carl, like sometimes it's a hot day and I'm like, oh, I want a nice red wine.
I know. I a couple of times last summer, I was just shaking my head. I was like, what are you talking about? It's like 36 degrees and it's 9 o'clock and you want a big bowl red? Yeah, I know. That's my girl. That's definitely my girl. But,
hey, I wanted to say, well, go ahead.
For me, what gets me really excited, and there's one of the things, like there's 4, but more than 4. There's out of 9 wines. We have 9 wines available. There's 7 reds. All of them are all at the top of they're bold reds. The 3 library releases are pretty darn cool. The 17 Cab Sauv, the 16 PV, and the 2013 Syrah. So these 3 wines, can't find that anywhere. So that's why, starting the year on the bang, like just like that, offering some stuff that it's not available anywhere. And the Chardonnay,
I
like,
don't think the Chard is available anywhere
oh
either.
no, 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 no,
They
no,
knew how
no.
much you liked it on Chardonnay Day. They saved us some.
Well, the thing is, there was such a small production.
Mhm.
So they saved it for their wine club members only. And now they had like something like 15 cases left. And they just put it in the back. And they were waiting for us to do the feature just to see what's going to happen. But yeah, there's pretty much none of that left. And there is so freaking good.
It's a great
So yeah.
value Chard too. Oh, so okay. So what I wanted to ask is, like, PV, Petit Verdot, is often seen as not necessarily a single varietal kind of wine, right? So we had a friend that we took down to Desert Hills actually last summer. Like, if you remember this day, I think that was the day with you and your Magnum there.
Double Magnum, because you
Magnum.
told me once.
We have it here. No, we opened it.
It's right there.
We drank that thing.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving. We opened that with Rob Amersley, Karen Chapman, and all of our best friends here. We opened that on Thanksgiving.
That's right. So, okay, so when we went down there, we went with a friend, and if you'll remember, that's a friend of yours that goes way back, and he has a huge collection of international wines, loves big bold reds, and said something like Petit Verdot is kind of a filler grape.
Absolutely. Okay, so Steve's line's always been it's the cheater grape.
The cheater grape.
Petit Verdot, it's the cheater grapes. I'm like, what are you talking about? And half of his collection is big American Cab Sauv. And I taught him through the years that his big American cabs are not more than often are not 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. You often find 3, 2, 3, 4, 5% of Petit Verdot in there. And this Petit Verdot splash helped this Cabernet Sauvignon to get it even darker, bring it even more chewiness to it. And yeah, that's a classic Napa Valley thing. But it's not only Napa Valley. Like, if you go back all the way to the mecca of the wine, if you go to Bordeaux, and it's part of the 5 Bordeaux grape varietals that makes the classic Bordeaux grape. Though that the Petit Verdot is always the one in smaller quantity, but yeah, Petit Verdot goes all the way back to a blending. It's such a great tool for blending, depending on the vintage, depending if you're missing something. And that's why, like, Steve always like to freaking push my button about this is the cheater grape. And
so they call it the cheater grape because it adds that color and that boldness to any blend, right?
That's it, right? That's it. And depending on which kind of vintage Mother Nature gives you, well, you can add a little bit more Petit Verdot to come and balance a little less, or depending on what you need, right? So
the fascinating thing is, I mean, first of all, I got to say, our friend bought a case of 100% varietal Petit Verdot from Desert Hills that day.
Absolutely.
So talk about Canadian Wine Challenge and getting these people on board. But boom. But I got to say, so why are we seeing more of this trend of the 100% Petit Verdot? Because like Adam said, it's a small amount of grapes, right? Like most wineries, they have 1 acre, 2 acres of Petit Verdot. Nobody goes and plants like 30 acres of Petit Verdot. You'd be nuts, right? So why is this idea of like 100% varietal Petit Verdot suddenly becoming more and more popular in the Okanagan?
I think there's a few reasons for that. One is climate change. Climate change bring more heat unit. Climate change bring sometimes longer growing season. So that gives you the chance to ripen, because this is one of the hardest varietal to ripen. It needs to be really late, often, or more than often. It's harvested in November. So if you don't have a really, really long growing season, you're hooped. You can't make it 100% varietal. So that's why often it's used as a blender, right?
Mm.
So that also another thing, it's the understanding of your land, the understanding of where you're growing your grape, planting the Petit Verdot at the right place, with the right sun exposure. So now in 2020, 2023, we have a much better understanding of where to plant the Petit Verdot. So it's not random in the middle of a vineyard. It's been assessed. So now you have a better chance to give everything you need to grow that grape to a phenolic ripeness where you can absolutely be able to harvest, process, make, and enjoy 100% Petit Verdot. Third is, it's not for everyone. Hey, come on, you're a girl, you like you know that like you like it big. So you like the big wine. It's not everyone who likes it.
Wine.
Big, bold, it's chewy, it's tannic, it's powerful. So not everyone is or as like adventurous like that. So, and it's not like as approachable as other type of grapes. So, and the size of the vineyards are so small, so you can't produce a whole lot. So that's some of the reason why now that's where we're at. And also,
so there's sort of a niche group of people.
It's sort of a niche, and also people are looking for a competitive advantage, right? What's my competitive advantage? I grew up at Petit Verdot, so how about I? So now we're saying, oh, okay, there's potential. Some people start to enjoy that. It's a little geeky, it's a little different. So you get that hype, and you know what? You can differentiate yourself as one of the Petit Verdot. It's not a whole lot of people who grow it. So if you can get your hands on enough to make a single varietal, and like having your home style, of PV, also why not, right?
Totally. Yeah, so Ken's got a good point. For many years you could not get 100% Petit Verdot. It was like blended 5-10% here and there. Yeah,
absolutely.
And one of our VIPs is saying you're right, it's like the key ingredient in a recipe. It might not be at the forefront, but it completes the final results. So.
Oh, absolutely. Like the right touch of PV just bring your cab at exactly where you want to have it, right? And it's part of your house style. What is the house style? And then that's something that you bring every year, right? You try to keep that consistency. You want to play with the vintage, but you have that house style that's define you as a winemaker, as a house. And that little splash of PV can often bring like that little touch where it really defines you. So I enjoyed that. I'm a little bit more a balanced type of the wine that I enjoy. I like them in the medium of the spectrum. But this it's enjoyable for a reason to me, because it's fresh. I'm not a fan of heavy wine, heavy in the sense that alcohol like squash me. Like I'm not a fan of that. Like some people like it as like big, bold and juicy. To me, I like balance. And the freshness of this Petit Verdot kind of lift the whole experience, and it's not something who's like heavy. It's refreshing. Even if it's 14.6 alcohol, it's a lot of body. There's a lot of tannin. It's powerful, but it's balanced. So, yeah. So shout out to the whole team at Desert Hills. To me, there's a few wine that I want to highlight in there.
Yeah.
I already mentioned it. The 17 Cab Sauv.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite. The 2013 Syrah is pretty cool. I like, and this Syrah is still like, it's not completely on the secondary aromas just yet. There's no tertiary yet. It has like at 9-year-old, it's still have plenty to left in front of it. So just like right in the window of drinkability, very well made. There's that classic spicy Syrah in there as well. It's really, really fun. And I enjoyed the Merlot a lot too. So Merlot is a little bit more modern than the rest of the lineup. I think the Merlot is the more New World style that I found in the whole lineup. And obviously the Chardonnay, one of the best $26 Chardonnay from the Okanagan. There's not a lot of good Chardonnay at that price point, and it was like absolutely bang on. Mostly stainless steel with a splash of oak in there. Well made. So yeah,
fabulous. Well, it was
that's what Petit Verdot. That's what Petit Verdot does. Stain your teeth.
Totally. Can you imagine if we did International Petit Verdot Day like we've done for Chardonnay Day or Riesling Day, where we taste
Can't do that.
30, 50 Petit Verdot side by side? I think your mouth would fall off. Like, yeah. Because I mean, this is one thing we've learned, okay? You can do 54 Chardonnays side by side, and you will not face occupational hazards as you do, let's say, tasting as you would with Petit Verdot. Or let's say on Cab Sauv Day, I think we did 21 Cab Sauvs, and we were like, done. Our teeth are black. Like, our mouth has canker sores.
But you know which one was the hardest? Riesling.
Yes, Riesling.
Riesling absolutely destroyed my mouth with the high acidity.
And you know what happens with Riesling? It's like eating a bunch of asparagus. Do you guys know what I mean? Your urine starts to smell like asparagus urine. Okay, I'm just saying. So if you have a lot of Riesling, that's what happens. Okay. But
thank you.
The other one that was good. Okay, so the ones that were good were Chardonnay was easy to taste a whole bunch side by side.
Rosé was fun. The walk in the park, absolutely no problem.
So Blanc, right? Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
You could do a lot of those side by side. So, note
Cab Franc was pretty good too.
Yeah. But definitely Petit Verdot, it'd be limited to like 15 to 20 side by side.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a good one. I really like that. There's that blend, this mix of floral savoriness, but also dark fruit, big tannin. This one is just starting. It's a 90 plus. Well balanced, freshness. So there's a lot of fun to have with that Petit Verdot. This is Desert Hills week. We're gonna run that one until probably Friday, right?
Oh, it is Friday. Yeah, it's on till Friday. There is free shipping for 12 or more bottles, guys, and there is reduced shipping for 6 to 11 bottles. And then if you're a VIP Plus or VIP Unlimited, of course, you get 6+ bottles free shipping if you want to do that for this one. So, yeah, there's no reason not to try these if you're interested, if you've got room for it. These are awesome wines. It's a great way to explore the South of Okanagan, isn't it?
Absolutely. And single varietals, right? There's the dust storm where it's the blend, but after that, you're all on single varietals. So it's pretty cool to have the Merlot on its own, the Cab Sauv on its own, 2 vintages of Syrah, obviously the Petit Verdot and the Malbec. So we're on discovery of single varietal representation of the south of the Okanagan. So some of these.
If we're talking Canadian Wine Challenge, we just took you to the South Okanagan of BC there. You can see Oliver Osoyoos. So Desert Hills is down in Oliver on the Black Sage Bench. Is it Black Sage?
Black Sage Bench. You got it right. Right across, right past Black Hills and Platinum Bench. So, and we're almost across the street from Burrowing Owl. So Burrowing Owl has been a classic down on the Black Sage Bench for forever. So if you wonder where Desert Hills is, it's right across the street from Burrowing Owls.
Beauty.
There you go. So get your pack. There's 9 wines available. So great selection. And this is winter. right? So
Still,
it's winter, it's
hard to
time.
believe, but
And these wines are going to be fantastic for the barbecue, for the grills. All of these wines are perfect for the grills as well. So get your pack. And this is our first weekly feature of the year. And for the next one, in 2 weeks from now, we're going to go to Ontario with Cave Spring Vineyards. So one of the old whole builder of the Niagara wine industry with the Pinaccetti family. So another
that's in a couple
cool.
weeks.
Yeah.
After the big blizzard that is going through Ontario right now, that would make it hard to ship any wines. And they will be probably holding on to those wines if there are any further weather issues out of Ontario. But hopefully it'll be back to the mild weather we've been seeing.
Oh, and also I want to mention, where are you? We are selling in en futur, en primeur. That's not our number one wine of the year, the Rennie Appassimento Cabernet Franc, the 2020 version. We have a barrel set aside with Graham Rennie. And if you want to get your 2020 Rennie Appassimento Cab Franc, send us an email. We have a couple more cases available on primeur. So yeah, that's mean the wine's still in barrel.
Still in barrel. You get it for a great deal. So instead of $125 a bottle, it's $100 a bottle. These wines are worth that much because Carl's tasted them, and the last vintage was his number one wine of 2022, which is a really big deal. Tasting over 2,000 wine or 1,200 wines last year, and bam, that one's a 96 point top of the pack. So yeah, this is the new 2020, which is the vintage of the century.
Yeah.
And you can get it on primeur like that. So yes, you can get less than 6 bottles. A lot of members were concerned that you have to buy 6, which is $600. Not everybody wants to do that. So you can get just 1 or 2, and we'll figure out the shipping. That's the only part we have to figure out. So you might have to pay full price on the shipping on that, but
yeah, under 6 is going to be the full price of shipping, but it's worth it. It's got really, really rare wine. Only 75 cases will be made only, and we have 25 cases available just for the club. So this is a collectible, absolutely something to collect as a something unique in your cellar. So
absolutely.
Okay, it's a beef stew time, my dear. Beef stew time. I can't wait to get that in my bowl.
There you go. I can't wait either.
Okay, so I'll meet you down there. So Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, cheers. Happy Wednesday, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.